And then it's like, okay, I know who it is. Well, what's the messaging I'm going to use to reach them? How am I going to talk about this? And so it gives some examples like if you're going to instant roof quote for me, like that's it. That was a huge source of business for us. And so what we realized I like using this example is my ideal customer for who's going to use the instant roof quote tool is likely a mom that lives in the suburbs of some specific neighborhoods in the Detroit metro region where we're at. Her biggest fear that she faces in the journey is usually stress because she's fearful that she's going to be either taken advantage of or it's something where it's just so many unknowns in the process that she is always going into these appointments stressed out, a little cautious. And so it's like, okay, I know that's her fear. What can I do along the way to solve that primary fear for her? And so it's like, hey, we worked on creating a message. What's my message to her? And so the one-page marketing plan for the messaging part's good, but there's another book, and I shout out the Contractor Dynamics people. They sent this to me, Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller. The story brand is really, really good for crafting an elevator pitch for people. And so in this case, that homeowner, it's like, hey, you know how roofers always want to take a bunch of your time only to throw out some astronomical quote and then high pressure pitch it into trying to close that day. Well, we've partnered with a developer that allows us to give you an instant roof quote tool in less than 60 seconds, and then you can follow up with us and talk to us when you're ready. And so it's something where you can craft a message that you speak to a problem that she has, and then a solution that you provide without having to sell something to it. It's like, hey, here's a solution I've got for you. Once you figure out that message, then you think through where am I going to put this message? So okay, so we've got this message. Is it Google Ads? Probably not. Is it Facebook? Maybe. For us, it's Nextdoor, and it turned out we don't even have to pay for it. We just post organically on Nextdoor. And so what we realized is it's a very, very simple strategy to just go interact with people on Nextdoor and say, hey, when somebody asks for a roof, I'm going to type right here, we have an instant roof quote tool that saves you this with that little message. We ended up from that, then you get them into your funnel, they fill out the lead, and then you figure out, okay, what am I going to do to follow up with these people? What am I going to do to nurture this lead, to do the things to convert them into a sale? We can build some processes along the way. And then this is the things where I can help coach people like, hey, what's the message? Once you've done a demo, once you've gone out on site, what are you doing in your follow-up sequence after the fact to show that you're the right choice? So for us, there was a couple things in Proline, what we do, again, back to that, I didn't have to do it. There's 2 years of follow-up sequences built in there, but the best part is I said, all right, I'll just do the first like 3 messages, and we're going to create a little strategy where I answer the top 5 questions that these homeowners are going to have after the site visit. It's like we sat as a team, walked through what's the top 5 questions they call after we do a demo. It's like, boom, we're going to build a little video, or we're going to build a guide or something that we link back on our website and send them a text. Hey, thanks for letting us come out. Here's some questions that you might think of after our site visit we wanted to share with you. Another one is, hey, we can't get people to pick the colors. That's always something that they need help with along the way. Great, let's build that into the follow-up. So we add value by helping them choose a color, and we show them a project gallery on our website and the company cam showcase saying, look at all these jobs we've done. You're making a good decision. Then once they close a job, what are you doing after the fact? What are you doing to get reviews? What are you doing to get referrals? What are you doing to make sure that you deliver a gold standard process to that customer so that when you get to the end, they won't stop talking about you, and they won't stop talking about you back on that channel that you found them in the first place. And so it's just going to reinforce that cycle of we're speaking to those people and then they're going back to their little sphere of influence to continue talking about your business. So that's kind of like the blueprint in a nutshell. We can get deeper than that on like more of the ideas, which is typically the problem that people have. They're like, well, what should I say? What should I do? It's like, I'll help you put all that together. And so with, basically an hour and a half meeting with me and a client, I can go through this with them and then kind of build a plan of like, this is the plan of attack for you and your business for solving this immediate goal of, I want more shingle roofs. It's like, great, let's target this. And we don't want to spend money to do it. Great. Here's what we're going to go after then. So,
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, so as you get that plan built out, it becomes, I mean, I guess it's not, you still have decisions, but it becomes more clear where you need to advertise, like what channels, and then what to say to
yep.
them after they're in your process.
Yep.
Um,
I
and
mean,
then,
ideal clients like because Proline can be used not just for like a shingle roof replacement, it can be used for commercial stuff too. Like if you've got commercial leads, you can use that, but the way you're gonna talk to a commercial person is totally different than a homeowner. And so it's like, we're gonna build something, a sell sheet, a plan that's gonna speak to the differences between, between the coating versus replacement and a maintenance plan and a long-term return on your investment, things of this that it's going to be maybe a little bit higher level, which like one of the clients I work with, they're like, I don't know what the right way to word these things are. And I'm like, well, who's the guy that's reading this? When you send something to him, whatever it is, like who's reading it? What does he care about? It's probably a guy that has some ties to the finance level of his business a lot of times where he's going to make a decision based on numbers and not as much of the other things. And so it's like, all right, we need to speak about that versus the homeowner, we're going to speak totally different to them too. And so,
Yep, that totally makes sense. So, yeah, I love all this talk with the messaging. I mean, we have so much built out already by default in Proline, but we can only, it has to be super generic. Like because we are building it for so many to work for so many different roofing companies. Yeah, it's way better than nothing, but it's also, there's so much room for improvement. And we always tell people this, like, hey, like we encourage you to customize the messaging inside of Proline for yourself. But
well,
how
I'll
many people
speak
actually do it?
and I'll speak to that even because like I remember setting this up and looking through some of these thinking like these get a little cheesier. That's like it's not what I'm like thinking it's not what I would open. And then it's like, okay, just let it go. I don't have time to mess around with this right now. But then what I realize is like you'll get responses from people to the ones where it's like the home run. And it's like, hey, like that message, I remember getting people that it's like I thought it was cheesy or kind of silly. And then it's like, boom, that's the one that people responded to. And so it goes back to the like, not every person is going to engage with that same thing. And so that's kind of what's nice about it too, where there's a lot of different things that are, they're not pushy follow-ups. It's just, hey, we're just checking in. Like it's not necessarily follow-ups, it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah. And it's a good starting point. But once you have your marketing plan, right, then you kind of know more of what to say. And let's get into your what you call sell sheets. So this
Yeah.
is a great, we're talking about the text and the emails and that's great, but your quote, your messaging in your quote itself, super pivotal in this process. Kind of we actually have an example to show, but why don't you give people an overview? What is a sell sheet? Kind of define that.
Yeah, so the sell sheet, think of it as what you're typically submitting to a homeowner as part of a proposal for your bid. Most people are using sell sheets that have been created by a manufacturer with manufacturer's information on it and nothing about your own brand. So think of it like a Certainty GAFOC, one of those nice pretty folders where it's like, oh, you see the system, you see the technologies and all that. The sell sheet is explaining the product that you sell, the roof, to a customer, but it's a tool that allows a customer to basically we visualize the process instead of putting it in a text-based format. And so we make sure that the photos, the imagery that is on there are things that people can see what you're talking about. Because when you send a bid to a customer, whether you're using any of the quote softwares, if it's just text, they're scrolling to the price and that's it. They don't care about everything else that's written.